to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
What is going on, Forgers? Welcome to Heroes Forge. This is Season 2, Episode number 59 of a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. This is your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and just like every week on Heroes Forge, I'm joined by the co-host of the show, the amazing Kristen Ashton, who is more awesome than winning the lottery. What's up, Kristen?
Not too, well, I should say a lot coming up this current week here. But winning the lottery, have you won the lottery recently? Is there a celebration we need to have?
No, No, I would still do this show if I won the lottery, let's be real, because I love this show so much, but I'm trying to put it out there in the universe, maybe all of us will win the lottery. Maybe everyone that's listening to this episode right now is suddenly going to have a winning lottery ticket. I would gladly split the winnings with all of you if we all won.
That would be pretty cool. And then on top of it, to be, I don't know if this would ruin the fun of it, but then we invest it smartly so that it would work for us for the rest of our lives and we could do whatever we wanted.
Sure. I'm more along the lines of let's all start an esports team together and just rock all the way to BlizzCon and win the Heroes of the Storm global championship.
That's pretty cool. And HGC is definitely speaking to incredible games. I saw a game this morning. Core went down to 3%. 3%. And then the enemy team that was about to win got wiped. All 5 of them wiped. And the other team swooped in and stole the victory. It was so cool.
That's what I'm saying. It's not over until it's over. And I feel like on Towers of Doom, it happens the most, where you could be so far behind and still pull it out a victory in the end of that game. I mean, me and my buddies have been so far behind and won, and it's incredible.
It's true. It isn't over until the core is exploded. And this goes both ways, right? Because you can have an amazing game and think you're going to win it, and then one bad fight and you lose it. But the opposite as well. There have been so many games. It's really, really rough in the beginning, but you manage to just hang on with just your fingertips until about 10 or 16, and then it just flip-flops, and it feels like you should have been playing this well the entire game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, they throw a wrench in the whole thing when they bring out these amazing brawls, which feel so different and so fun. Have you played this week's brawl? I haven't had a chance. Have you played it yet?
I did, and it's nothing new. It's basically the shrines. There are a total of 3 games, and then you stand on the shrine, it fires shots. First one to reach the total number of shots on the enemy core takes it, and then you get those 3 random heroes to choose from. So the first set, there's 1 shrine. Second set, there are about 2 or 3 shrines, and then third set, there are 3 shrines. And then it's just a battle of who can get the most.
Nice. So this is on the temple map. So you're collecting these, and they're shooting shots directly at the core, but you have a randomly selected hero.
Correct.
Yeah, and chat is saying it's like the Punisher Arena Brawl, but in Sky Temple. So that makes a lot of sense. That's cool. I can't wait to play it. I just have gotten so busy doing stuff for this show, doing other things outside of the show, so I haven't got to play it yet. And then I hear out of the blue that there's been a murky rework, Kristen. Being the murky lover that you are, how do you feel about this? Tell us about it.
I feel good. I feel scared because there are going to be a lot of new murkies, but at the same time, why should I be scared? Because I want more people to try this hero. He is a fun hero with this crazy kit, but I'm hearing rumors that he's going to be a new assassin. He's going to be the best off-take ever, and I just want to let you guys know he dies just as easily as he did before, unless, of course, you spec for that more tankish murky. And late game, you get the survivability and that slime damage output to kind of turn him into a little fish assassin. But the best thing, I think that is a part of this new kit is the way they have reworked Bribe. Because no longer do you have to stand by lane minions when they die, and you have to collect lots and lots and lots and lots of stacks before you get even 1 bribe. It's if your puffer kills lane minions, gets the last hit, you get stacks of bribes. So this means at the beginning of the game, you can start taking camps as soon as they're up if you played your cards right.
Wow. Oh, I have to really look into that because I've been playing Murky lately a lot, and it's a ton of fun. I'm curious to see. So are you saying they're kind of changed? Do you feel that they want Murky to be more present in, say, like a team fight environment with these changes? Or do you feel, because personally, I don't really, I mean, he's got his place with Octograb, he's got his place with March of the Murlocs in a team fight, maybe throwing out a puffer fish, crossing your fingers that, somebody gets hit by it. But are you thinking that with these changes, you may see more Murky in team fight?
I think it depends on the player and how that player likes to play him. I think he is now stronger in both roles that he used to fill, either more team comp heavy or more solo specialist. And they've really worked it so that both are now even stronger and can stand up to the things that he may have been falling more prey to with the new heroes that released.
So is this Murky rework live now, or is it coming with Lucio?
It's coming with Lucio, so practice him on the PTR if you want to get used to this change coming up, because it's going to be a brand new-ish Murky. There's a lot of learning involved.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that Lucio is coming on Tuesday, right?
Lucio will be here on Tuesday, as far as I know.
Oh, man, this is going to be another huge patch. I love when these huge patches just drop on the live game. Tons of changes. People are playing characters or heroes that you haven't seen in a long time. With Valera, there was lots of Tassadar, tons of Rexar, these characters that are all getting, reworked and changed just to kind of fit where they fit better in the game with these new heroes releasing. So the Murky changes, Lucio, I'm sure there's a huge long list of patch changes that I will gladly read all the way through to see everything that's coming.
Oh, it's going to be nuts, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's always a lot of fun, right? It's always a lot of fun. And for you fellow dedicated Murky players who have held on to your over 50% win rate, regardless of the Li Mings and regardless of the Tracers, this is going to be a fun time.
It's going to be really good. Congratulations to all of you that have hung on with Murky that long, because I know Li Ming's one orb and you're just fish dust. You're just gone, right?
Well, it depends. Late game, I have hunted down and killed so many Li Mings as Murkies, but it's all about understanding your opponent, right? Once you understand your opponent, you can understand the talents to take to negate their negative effects and basically just run them down. I've taken down a Diablo by myself before.
Whoa! See, that's true. That's a true Murky player right there. I kind of just run around and try to get buildings down and then look at the end of the game and go, did I make over 200,000 siege damage?
Right? I love looking at that number. And usually the answer is yes. Win or lose, yes, you did.
There you go. Well, let's get on with the show here. After all that Murky talk, it's got me pumped up for the show, and let's forge.
Let's forge.
Very cool. All right, welcome to HeroesForge. If this is your first time listening, we're going to take a character that's not in Heroes of the Storm yet, and we're going to kind of just chat through what we think they would be like if they were added to the game. We got lots of people hanging out in our Twitch chat. We're recording this for podcasts, and Kristen and I were talking before the show started how crazy it is that when you go out here onto Twitch and you press that go live button, we're really available to the whole world. I mean, people can jump in here and listen to this, and we love all your guys' ideas. Join us on the Twitch chat every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific so you can watch the live recording of the show. That's on twitch.tv/Amove TV. So, Kristen, we pick a new character every week. What character are we picking this week that's not yet in the game, but we think would fit very well, in my opinion, very well?
Oh, totally. We are going for a big baddie today. We are going for none other than Mannoroth.
Mannoroth. When you sent this to me, because Kristen won the Twitter vote again last week with awesome build. We put our builds up for vote every week on our Twitter page, and you can go over there and vote on which one of the two builds you think was the better of the two. And Kristen won again, which is amazing. And picked Mannoroth, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, Mannoroth is so awesome and just evil and back to WoW, and it feels good. I mean, it's going to be really, really crazy.
It is, and we were lucky enough that they created a second cinematic, an updated cinematic with yet another death of this poor guy.
That's right. I watched all the cinematics over and over again this week, trying to forge this out. Multiple death cinematics of this pit lord, Mannoroth. Kristen, why don't you fill everybody in a little bit about Mannoroth and his place in World of Warcraft?
Can do. Pit lords were never rare, but a pit lord of Mannoroth's cunning and ruthlessness was. It was so overpowering that he became the Destructor and the Flayer, while he served under the direct command of Archimonde and Kil'jaeden. He helped conquer countless worlds, and even helped lead the first invasion of Azeroth during what became known as the War of Ancients. Though defeated, he was nevertheless pleased with the sheer amount of gore he had left strewn across the battlefields of the young planet. Come the second invasion, Mannoroth was instructed to work with the orcs of Draenor and fed them his blood, forming a pact that was only broken later by the very orc that had led his people to such ruin.
Okay, let's talk about this for a second. Under the direct command of Archimonde and Kil'jaeden, right? So this is a baddie.
Yes, he is high up the totem pole. I think it goes something like Sargeras, and then Archimonde and Kil'jaeden, and Mannoroth. So third, fourth tier?
Yeah, fourth tier, but serious baddie. I mean, then it kind of branches off into more and more evildoers in this world and, fell corrupted people. But this is like the true base of the tree here. We're really talking about working with Archimonde and Kil'jaeden, and the whole point, I mean, I love the line that you wrote here. It fed the orcs of Draenor his blood, forming a pact that was only broken later by the very orc that had led his people to such ruin. I mean, it's got deception, it's got evil, it's got fell magic. I mean, it's just totally right up awesome. I mean, it's just so awesome.
It really is, and it really works toward building Gul'dan's evilness as well. The fact that he basically tricked his people into drinking the blood of what is clearly an evil demon, making them think it would help them in some way. And sure, it helped them defeat who they saw as their enemies, but of course it leads to that wonderful, wonderful question, at what cost?
At what cost? Ooh, chills. That's awesome. And you know what? Mannoroth, just speaking purely of the animation and the way that this character looks in the game, it would be something so cool to add to Heroes of the Storm, just on a very base level, because it's kind of got that Asmodan feel, like of a big demon-like character, but Mannoroth is just a very unique looking toon.
It does, and we kind of see that similar body model in Warcraft with the Dragonkin, right? With the dragons on the forelegs and the arms. But that's not nearly as cool as this huge pit lord that would be maybe even bigger than Cho'Gall if put into the Nexus.
Oh, that would be so badass. That would just be really, really neat. Okay, enough backstory about Mannoroth. Let's talk a little bit about what we think he would be like in the game if we put it in. So we each build a kit here, and we're going to talk through them. And because I didn't win last week, I get to go first, because Kristen did choose Mannoroth. So here we go. We start with the role classification, and believe it or not, Kristen, I'm going with Assassin.
Assassin, he's going to be so unfair. He's going to run over some poor Jaina, and that's the end of it. That's the end of it.
Yeah, like a charge attack, just run right over. Massive assassin. Yeah, I wanted to go assassin, and I was really starting. I had like a half of a kit built of a tank, and I was going like in a tanky way, and I just wanted to really empower that evil, that fell evil in Mannoroth, that I was like, no, he's got to do some serious damage in my mind, so I'm going assassin, restart. So that's where we're at. And to start it all off, I'm starting with this trait called Reanimate. Now, before I get started with my build here, My experience with Mannoroth in Warcraft was when I came back getting ready to play for Legion, and I went back and I actually started playing a little bit of the Warlords of Draenor that I had missed, and he is actually a raid boss in one of the raids at the end of Warlords of Draenor. So I went back there after I had fully leveled up and gotten, like, you know, mega gear and stuff, and got a group together, and we played through these things so that I could experience it all. So that's really what I'm modeling him after, is his raid encounter there. So with that being said, after being destroyed by a mighty blow, Mannoroth was still a worthy servant of Gul'dan. Gul'dan and his minions sought to reanimate the shattered remains of Mannoroth so that he may continue to serve the Legion. This is the very Mannoroth that we will see in this Heroes of the Storm kit. In the Nexus, Mannoroth will start in a skeletal form on the battlefield and gain steps closer to his reanimation with every bit of damage that he deals to enemy heroes, which in turn will increase his overall damage output. If killed on the battlefield, Mannoroth will crumble to a pile of bones and fell ooze, and once his death timer is completed, will resume in the location of these bones, but will have to restart his reanimation process.
Oh, so he starts with a base quest.
Correct, yes, that is your trait. Your trait is a quest, basically.
Gross. So how long, ideal circumstances, do you think it would take to complete this quest?
I'm thinking that it's never really completed. So let's think about it like this. You're just going to continue to get stronger and stronger and stronger the more damage that you deal. Maybe you cap out at a certain point where you've hit the maximum amount of strength that you can get. But if you die, you have to start your quest over. So you never get to a point like with a KT's quest to hit people, to hit heroes with, you know, his abilities, and you gain it. Once you complete the quest, you've got it, and you can die and you're good. This is more on a trait level where you have to, you know, if you die, you've got to start all over.
Oh, that's wicked. Okay, so the damage you have to do, is it done in equal increments, or do the increments get larger as they get higher up?
Yeah, I think it will scale. So just like, you know, the health of these NPCs in the game, they scale with the higher and the more damage that you do. This quest, or this ability to get stronger and reanimate your body, so you can see him coming out as skeleton Mannoroth, and then with each piece of the puzzle that you're putting together and the more damage you're doing, you're getting stronger and becoming more of the Mannoroth that we know as this huge pit lord. And when you die, the craziest part about it that I'm thinking is it's like a Leoric resurrection, but it's more like the grave golem, where the grave golem of old, I should say, where your bones fall out, and then when you come back, you're in the same place that you died.
Oh, that would be really awesome, but also really, really challenging for your team, right? Because if you know you're gonna die, you better hope you die somewhere that your team is going to be near to protect you, because the other team is going to know exactly when you come up, and you're going to come up in a weakened state.
Yeah, so it's gonna be tough. I have a few abilities in here that might be able to help you get out of a tough situation like that. But also on the flip side of it, being able to be in the middle of the battlefield or someplace that you were taken out before may come in handy for you if the enemy team isn't paying attention or can't get to where your corpse is for you to resurrect. So it's a little different, but it plays into some basics. So let's talk a little bit about some basic abilities here. First, about the mounting ability for Mannoroth. I definitely think this huge pit lord is not going to ride the rainbow unicorn. He's going to just be able to move faster on the battlefield, like an Azmodan where the flaming legs come out and he just goes a little faster. Maybe Mannoroth has this fell flame that comes up and he moves faster through the battlefield.
I agree. I don't want Blizzard sued for animal cruelty at any point. So I agree that he should not be riding any of the horses.
Yeah, if they were going to get sued for animal cruelty, it would have been with Cho'Gall carrying the animals, maybe, or riding the treasure goblin. That's although I'm not really sure they count as animals.
No, they're magical, so maybe they're fortified with extra strength when they're with Cho'Gall.
Very cool. Okay, so let's talk about some basics here. And again, I'm drawing from what I remember about that encounter with Mannoroth in Warlords of Draenor raid here. So the first one is called Glaive Thrust. Tell me what you think about this, Kristen, because I think it's possible it could work in the game. So Mannoroth swings, this is his Q. So when you activate Q, he swings his massive glaive forward, hitting a target within range. This target is hit with a large amount of damage and given a debuff that increases the amount of damage they receive from getting hit by glaive thrust again for a short amount of time. The cooldowns on this ability and the length of the debuff would allow the Mannoroth player about 1.5 seconds to land an additional glaive thrust for increased damage amount.
That could totally work. Zul'jin can curse people and then smack them with axes for a bit. Kerrigan has that rewind on her jump that's built into the actual ability, which I learned this past week. I thought it was a talent, but no. If you kill something, what is it, within 1.5 seconds?
Right.
You get the reset and a mana refund. So yeah, that's absolutely doable.
So this kind of spawns off of the tanking mechanic of this encounter with Mannoroth, where if you get hit with one glaive thrust and you get hit with another one, you basically have to switch off tanks or you get hit with a massive amount of damage in between there. And there's more mechanics to it than that, but that's the basic way that it works. So I was thinking, how do we bring that? So maybe you get hit, you got a visual debuff like Zul'jin, and you've got time more than 1.5 seconds because he's got to get the cooldown back up for glaive thrust again. But you got to be aware that if you get hit again, you get some massive damage.
Yeah, and now with the animation of this, is it going to swing around or is he going to do a full-on thrust forward? How big is the range, too, in that case?
Not super big range. I'm seeing him as a full-on melee assassin here. So he's coming out and he's got a thrust forward. So it's a little further than what you would be used to. Maybe it's like maybe it's like the range of Uther's hammer. I know that's not the same type of attack, but still, it's just that little circle of an attack where you've got just that much range to reach out and kind of hit him with this ability.
Yeah, we don't want them to be too OP. I mean, Blizzard knows that they have to scale these guys down into a realistic level in the Nexus.
Totally. And then speaking of OP, let's talk about some more abilities here. The second one is called Fell Meteor. So Mannoroth selects this ability and a fell meteor will fall from the sky. This meteor always will fall directly in front of Mannoroth and will have a fixed distance in front of him. When this meteor hits the battlefield, if it makes contact with an enemy, it will push them in the direction that they were hit by the meteor. So think of it like a Lieutenant Morales grenade, but you are not able to control the placement or aim it, but it does more damage. So it's like a Gul'dan destruction meteor that comes down, just one though, and it always comes down in the same distance in front of Mannoroth. But if it hits you, it could pull you back or push you back in or to the side like a Lieutenant Morales grenade.
Yeah, or an easier version of the Alarak's move, right? Where you don't have control in that circle at all, but you know where it's going to fall, so your position determines how it's going to affect the enemy.
Exactly, yeah. And I like the different idea in this where you just hit the button and it happens. Like the meteor falls because it's going to fall a select distance away from Mannoroth. You don't control where it's going to fall. It's just directly in front of him. And it's like that Zul'jin axe throw where it doesn't go any further or shorter than what you throw it out.
Yeah, I like that. And it would be such a great tutorial in learning how to displace enemies. Kind of like Li Ming's displacement as well. It's very short range, and you need to practice in order how to get that jive going. But once you get it and you figure it out, you can branch out into a Gul'dan Horrify, or maybe into the Alarak movement, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Alarak is really hard. I tried to play him a couple of times, and it takes a lot of practice. Have you picked up Alarak?
I've tried him, and you're right. The most challenging part with him for me is the delay. He's a slower tune. If you think of Heroes as songs, he's a slower one, not as slow as Chromie, but he's definitely one where you have to really be planning ahead and be very, very well positioned in order to make those silences and the moves work.
Yeah, I like that analogy a lot. And then you've got the, rock tunes like Illidan that are flying in and doing really, really fast stuff, which is hard in its own way. I mean, that's really good.
Oh, thank you very much. It's something I've been picking up because I have been playing Sammy, and I've been taking the talent where it's 3 strikes until you get your critical. So you have to listen to the blade strikes to get that. And then with Illidan, you get increased cooldowns based on your hits. So when you're taking camps, it's about 5 to 6 hits before you can sweep across again. 5 hits, and then so it's listening to that beat, and you can kind of get into it.
Yeah, totally. And that's pro stuff you're talking about there. I love it. Okay, the third basic on my kit is called Massive Blast. So Mannoroth summons the fell magic to blast all enemy heroes that were within a small circle area around him. These heroes are pushed back and stunned for a very short amount of time. This ability is in place to help the Mannoroth player deal with poor placement of his respawn. So you respawn, you can hit your E, and it just blasts out and stuns everybody that was around you, and you have a second to kind of regroup, or you have your team get you in there.
I like that. I really like that. Pushback and a stun is very, very powerful in a game like this because it gives you space to move, which is very, very important if a team is trying to hug you to death.
Exactly. And this has got a definite ETC vibe to it, where you're able to push everybody around you back so you can kind of regroup with your team and regroup with yourself, right?
Yeah. Now, how far back are you thinking they're pushed? Kind of like the ETC?
Yeah, probably like the same thing, but when they get pushed back, they're also going to get stunned. So it's a little different in that respect because you really got to play around this trait, where you may be in a really bad place, and so you want to give them something powerful enough to be able to use. And maybe it's on like a real, deep cooldown. It takes a long time for you to get it back because it is powerful to be able to push back and stun,
Yeah, totally. Now with this, when you come back, do you have full health and everything? So you could technically start fighting again?
Yeah, I think so. So if the team fight is going on and people are right on top of your unreanimated bones, they could be fighting on top of you, and then if the enemy team was not paying attention, you're just right back in the thick of the fight, like a Leoric respawn.
Okay, so this begs the question: you're respawning, your bones are coming together and reforming. Can this be interrupted?
Ooh. I don't know. What would happen if it was interrupted? Like, would it restart? Like, would it have to re-go through the animation? Like, they could keep interrupting it?
Oh, that would be so cruel. But it's a potential, if this needed a nerf. I don't think it does. But if, that could be a potential way to nerf it.
Yeah, I like that. That'd be something cool to play around with, and maybe you could talent into it to where it wouldn't be interruptible or stallable. I would like to think of it as, because I don't ever want you to have to respawn back at the core, because that would kind of defeat the whole purpose, and people would just troll you and interrupt it right when it was supposed to happen. So, but who knows? Maybe that would completely change the game. Speaking of completely changing the game, let's talk about these heroics over here. This first one is called Fellseeker. This is a series of explosions that does damage in a circle area on the battlefield that's dictated by or chosen by the Mannoroth player within range. The first explosion is marked on the ground, similar to an Asmodan meteor, and this fell meteor, which is like that other fell meteor, without the pushback, just a damage-dealing fell meteor, lands and damages enemies in this area. But it's a series of 3 meteors that get bigger with each meteor crash. So the first one, you can see it marked on the battlefield, a meteor comes flying down and hits. And the second one comes and maybe it's like 150% of what that one was. And then the third one comes and it's 200%. And it just is bigger areas, all 3 meteors. And again, this is a mechanic that was in that raid, something very similar to it. But let's bring it to Heroes.
Oh, that's so awesome. It's Phoenix, but cooler.
Exactly.
Ish. Right, that's awesome. Now, could you talent into it to slow? So maybe you could potentially trap somebody there, or maybe the center forms a crater. So if he lands it in the center, you're gonna take all three to the face.
Ooh, I like it. Or you combo wombo it with Thrall. You throw an earthquake down and then you drop this Fell Seeker and it just boom, boom, boom hits all the heroes in that area for 3 huge meteor hits.
The bodies are flying. Let the bodies hit the floor, starts playing in the background, and you just strike your rock and pose and push to victory.
Yeah, but it is definitely sung by Mannoroth.
He would be kind of like a "let the bodies hit the floor." As good as it's getting right now. Give me a week.
Oh, that. Ladies and gentlemen, we've hit an all-time high here on HeroesForge. That is probably the funniest thing that's happened on the show. That is great. Yes, I will give you a week, and you better believe that I will remember next week to ask you for Mannoroth's Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. Let's talk about my second heroic here. It's called Mannoroth's Gaze. Mannoroth sets off an AoE fear that fears one enemy that is close to him. So maybe the enemy that's closest to him. The feared enemy will run directly away from Mannoroth. Similar to the ability in the raid encounter, once the fear is completed, the enemy that was feared will take a large amount of damage. This damage is spread out among all enemy heroes that are in range of it. So the trick here would be for the enemy team to have as many players in range of the affected player and mitigate the damage amongst all of them rather than that one hero taking all of the damage.
Oh, so kind of like seven-sided strike, right? Where you shouldn't leave your friend there. You should jump in with them and then get out of dodge.
Yes, very well thought, and I didn't think of that actually. Yes, it's very much like seven-sided strike. So Mannoroth is fighting somebody, maybe it's, getting close to when he's going to die because he is just an assassin. He's going to hit the sphere. The enemy player that is closest to him will turn around and just start running away like they're a grenade, basically. They're feared away, but instead of running away from that grenade, if you do, then that player is going to take all of that damage, where what you really want to do is stack everybody on top of that player so it just basically spreads out amongst all of them.
So you've given us a guaranteed win in Hero League, but potentially a guaranteed loss in Team League based on who's using it.
Absolutely. What do you think? Do you think this is something? I was thinking like if we used something like this, and again, I'm thinking of combos. This would combo with so many things so well, heroic wise, where if you could get all the enemy team to try to stand together in a way and then drop another heroic on top of that, I mean, the possibilities are endless on everything you could do to that team that's just standing together.
Oh, certainly. And I mean, imagine too the potential for this. If you're great at aiming your fear, you could send them in a direction toward minions or mercenaries or their own wall, which they would explode for a huge amount of damage. They may not die, but it might be enough to get a tower or a fountain.
Yeah, you'd have to really, really aim it really well. So I really like those. And those sorts of plays are in World of Warcraft often. Like when you're in these boss encounters, you all have to stack on top of each other to kind of spread the damage out, or don't stack on top of each other because you're going to die or all get the debuff. So I wanted something like that, and seven-sided strike is a really good point. So that's my Mannoroth build right there. Just basically being this fell assassin on the battlefield that's able to reanimate yourself and get stronger throughout the battle, but at the beginning you're not quite as strong as you want to be, and so you got to live and you got to do some damage, so you better hope you have a tank that's peeling for you and a whole bunch of great support characters.
It's a great take on living life, right? We start off weak, we're not sure what we want to do or how powerful we be, but if we keep living and we keep pushing forward, eventually we'll be able to kill 5 enemy heroes with how awesome we are.
That's perfect. And if you take anything away from this, it is the Mannoroth version of Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. Okay, before we move on to Kristen's kit, I want to thank everyone out there that is a current patron of the show and supporting the show and helping us grow. Thank you. You guys are rock stars, just like every week. And if you would like to become a patron of the show, you can check out patreon.com/HeroesForge for all the information and how we're working toward our goal of after show games, playing games with you. Yes, you. After the show. Check it out, patreon.com/HeroesForge. We also want to thank everyone that has rated us on iTunes. We've got a bunch of 5-star reviews, and we are so grateful for them. It really helps the show grow. So if you listen to it on iTunes, drop us a 5-star review and a little bit of a note, and we'll give you a shout out on the show. All right, Kristen, let's move on to your build. What role were you thinking for Mannoroth?
Okay, the role I'm thinking is warrior, and this one I've based off of the Pit Lord model from Warcraft 3.
Love it. Completely different way you can go, but still really, really in the lore. And the Pit Lords are just massive damage dealing badasses.
They're crazy. And to be honest, I had no idea there was a Mannoroth boss in World of Warcraft. So that's so cool. You can go and fight him. They rigged it so you can go test your mettle against this guy.
Yeah, because who wouldn't want to? I mean, exactly. I could talk about this for years, but I'm not going to. Let's talk about your warrior. I can't wait to hear this because I had some ideas myself, and I know you're going to knock it out of the park. So what's your trait?
Okay, the trait is simply cleaving attack. Mannoroth is so big and so fearsome that his sweeping basic attacks always do damage to more than one enemy. So when he does his animation and he's swinging back and forth, there will be that area in front of him. And if you are caught in that area, you will take damage.
This is huge. I'm thinking about this because this is like the cleave from the barbarian class in Diablo, right? So you've got this ability you can take where you're just able to hit more than one enemy at a time with your basic attacks, right?
Yeah, I didn't even think of that, but that is spot on. Just he's so big and so powerful in those cinematics. I just can't see him as a single target hitter unless it's a special ability he's using.
Yeah, totally. I love it. This is really cool. And it's got the Mannoroth feel, this Pit Lord just swinging around, just flailing this huge thing and dealing massive damage, right?
Yep, that's exactly it.
Were we on the same page with the mounting thought here?
Absolutely. The fire feet, the galloping, that's exactly what I put down.
See, Kristen, when you win these things, I get to go first, so I get to say all these all these crazy things that we have the great minds moments on.
Exactly. I'm the one who stole your idea.
Yeah, that's right, everybody. She stole my idea.
Let's
get on to some basics here. What's your first basic ability?
Okay, the first one is called Rain of Fire. In a circle on the ground, Mannoroth summons down Fellfire that deals damage to all enemies caught in it, and an additional bit of damage for a few seconds after.
Okay, cool. So this is really Pit Lord. I mean, because I had the same sort of thing in my build, and we see it in the encounters, and then the Warcraft build that you're making here. So how best does this combo with your other basic abilities to make it great for a tank? Or are you thinking this is his damage dealing ability? Or how do you find this to be tanky?
This one I feel is his damage ability, and it's kind of like Tyrael's ground lay.
Oh,
like that,
yeah.
where Tyrael buffs his allies but debuffs his enemies. But it's kind of like this, in that you're causing a significant-ish amount of damage, but it's also adding a little bit more damage after that. And an ongoing effect that hopefully your team can capitalize on because you've used it to mark who you want dead.
I see. That's really cool. I really like that. And the ability to call those people out. We've talked about this a million times, like the Diablos, pulling people around and, dropping those, like you said, Tyrael and doing all of that is huge in the tanking world.
It really, really is. And especially so much so if you play by yourself. Just the clear, this is who we're going after, guys. You better do it. Variance Taunt is another one that has proven to be extremely powerful if you have a team that's very aware and ready to go when they hear his scream.
Yeah, I really like it. Very cool. What about your second basic?
Okay, the second one is Howl of Terror. Exploding outward, Mannoroth's scream is so frightening to all nearby enemies that their attack damage is reduced. This is shown on Mannoroth by him using his wings as a shield. So he lets out a scream, and then he kind of covers his face with his wings. And that's so the enemy knows they are dealing less damage. And maybe the other heroes get animations as well.
Cool. Okay, this is definitely tanky. This is definitely a great way to kind of reduce the damage, not kind of, but actually reduce the damage that your team is taking. Really neat. I don't think the other heroes need animations. I think you just have to really pay attention to Mannoroth and find out, that this fell force is causing them to do reduced damage.
Yeah, and the animation could be really sweet too, like this green smoke that explodes outward after he does a rah into the ether. But the scream could be enough,
That is so cool. And I love the thought of his wings like kind of covering and shielding down what's going on. Really neat. And again, when played at the proper time, let's imagine, a Leeming orb is coming in or something and it's going to take somebody out where you're going to reduce that damage. I mean, that's got a skill cap on it that you really got to practice when to hit that.
Totally. And now that we have Valeera's and Zul'jin's running around, with Zul'jin and that increased damage, or his Taz Dingo, and then Valeera is trying to invade your back line, you could use this to mitigate what they were trying to do and give your team a chance to recoup.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about like an anti-Taz Dingo kind of move where, oh, yeah, you can get to low health and try to do more damage, but we're gonna Howl of Terror this so that you're not going to be able to do as much as you're hoping, and then pop out and then take you out with Rain of Fire.
Yep, Tazding this is what it could also be called potentially.
Perfect. You're on fire tonight. What's your third basic ability?
The third one is called Charge, and this is from that Warcraft 3 cinematic when he runs at Thrall. I love it so much. I had to give it to him. So Charge. Bellowing loudly, Mannoroth gallops forward, stabbing wildly with his weapon. This deals damage and knocks back any enemies hit by the charge.
You have to have that charge. If you haven't seen that cinematic, it is so cool to go and watch that one cinematic and then watch the new one that they made for Warlords of Draenor, because it's so cool how they tied the two together. It's just incredible.
It's beautifully, beautifully done. And every time I go to BlizzCon, there's usually a cinematics meeting they have where they kind of describe the process of creating those things. I always try to make those. They're so, so cool to see the artistic process of.
Oh yeah, and we've talked about this before too, but the fact that, I mean, they're like Oscar-worthy short films, some of these cinematics that they put together. So, I mean, and those are crazy. And even looking back on when that cinematic was made, I mean, that was years ago, and it still looks really cool. The fell fire effect was really neat, and when I went back and watched it this week, I was like, dang, they've got it down. But back to Charge, I mean, this charge is Mannoroth, period. I mean, you look up a definition of Mannoroth, you would find this charge in people's minds because of that one moment where he just gets pissed and charges forward.
Mm-hmm. And maybe Thrall has a weakness against Charge. Maybe everyone else just gets knocked back and takes damage, but Thrall, he's out for a minute.
Yeah, very, very cool. And Rodney77 in the chat is saying that with your Howl of Terror, it would also be cool if he says just extends his wings in a huge way and makes him look more frightening. Maybe it's just this fell fright that causes them to deal less damage.
I am all for that. The more scary monsters we have in Heroes, the happier I think we all are.
Absolutely. We want dragons. We want Mannoroth. We don't really forge the, well, we did Varian before, but still, very cool. I can't wait to hear these heroics. What's your first thought on heroic?
The first one is called simply Doom. Calling forth power from the Burning Legion. Mannoroth marks a target, transforming them into a demon. As a demon, the target player, and this is target enemy player, gains increased attack speed but loses health at a steady rate until they die. Once dead, a demon spawns from the enemy hero's corpse and begins fighting for Mannoroth's team.
Dang! Okay, this is really neat because this reminds me instantly of most recently with Legion when you could become a demon and start fighting, people inside of, Stormwind or wherever you happen to be. You are listening to the whispers of these demons. So you're giving them increased damage, but guaranteeing that they will die.
Guaranteed death. So if they're skilled enough, they should be able to at least help push your team back. But if they panic, which most people probably will, they won't be able to take advantage or do anything with this, resulting in a net gain for your team.
And not only that, but you're getting an NPC demon to fight for you. What's the health, strength? What are we comparing this NPC demon to? Is it like a knight on the battlefield or maybe one of the ogres?
I'm thinking like the summoned water elemental or the Ultralisk, where you can target it. Banshees too, right? It's going to have a nice amount of health, and if the enemy team decides to all target it at once, it'll go down no problem, but they probably won't, which means you'll get a lot of value from it.
And thinking of that, just think about, this is crazy to think the coordination for the enemy team and like true esports status would be, I got changed into a demon, let's do as much damage, we need to fight right now because I'm gonna die, go in there and fight. As soon as that character goes down, the demon pops up, everybody would just target that demon instantly and then continue on with the fight. There'd be some pretty cool esports moments with that.
Definitely. And imagine too if you had a Mannoroth that knew how to wait to attack with their NPC demon pet and kind of wait, just, bide your time and maybe bring it around the back and it starts attacking a squishy unbeknownst to the enemy team.
Yeah, wow, really, really cool. And Chad is talking about if you gusted with that, like if you could turn them into a demon, gust them away, then give them even less time as the demon before they were eliminated, that'd be pretty powerful.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways to break this really cool heroic. So it probably wouldn't be taken that often, but it's there. It's like Illidan's Metamorphosis. I love it. I absolutely love it. But I see the hunt, honestly, as having a lot more staying power in the current way of the game.
Yeah, I like it. For the whole feel of it, I really like Metamorphosis, being a Demon Hunter fan. But that's beside the point. Let's talk about your second heroic. What were you thinking there?
All right, second one is called Drink of My Blood. Like with the orcs of old, Mannoroth lays down a vat of his blood, drinkable by all nearby allies that choose to do so. Once drunk, those affected now have increased attack speed and attack damage. However, now that they belong to Mannoroth, he can choose to call them back. Should they choose to ignore his beckoning, they are severely slowed.
Okay, this is really cool. This is really my favorite thing in your kit so far. Okay, so you're laying down a well, basically, that others can drink from.
Yep,
now,
it's going to be just like the cinematics with the bubbling lime green blood and all that.
Oh, heck yeah. So you lay this down, and you're saying that is drinkable by all allies, so the enemy team can't drink from this well.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So when you say that he will call them back, do you mean that you see something on your screen that says you must return to the well now or something, so you have to return back there, and if you don't retreat, then you get punished for it?
Yes, I wanted a give and take, and I know this could be used to troll teams. I am fully aware. That's why drinking of it is optional. But I really, really like the idea of a tank having a bit more control over his team's actions, because so much of this game is waiting patiently, just chilling in a bush, waiting for the next thing to happen because there's nothing else to do. But so many times people are just freaking out. They got to do stuff. They don't need to do anything, but they got to do stuff. So if you have a tank who's good and who can tell you, all right, it's time to back it up, guys. Come back to me, return to my body. This will all be good. I just like it.
I really like it. I think it's really cool. It's one of those things that I always really like, where it's forcing the team to do something that maybe they don't want to do but could save the game. I do agree that it could be used in a trolly way, but a lot of the stuff we come up with on here could be used in a trolly way. I mean, some of the stuff that's in the game right now, Nazebo, zombie walls, things like that can be used in a trolly way. They usually aren't, because thank goodness most people want to play this game and try to win, but I wonder how far Blizzard is willing to go with those abilities to see if they're too trolly or not.
I think in the future, not right now, probably. I think right now they have a lot of really strong ideas that don't rely on controlling your team in any sort of way. But in the future, I wouldn't be surprised if they started messing around with this mechanic to kind of see what the breaking point would be between players if they had that.
Yeah, because that's a really cool idea. And I love that you can just kind of, and that's got a kind of Diablo feel to it too. You're going to drink from this well and get an increased stat, and I'm sure it only lasts for a certain amount of time.
Exactly. And then maybe what it is there's a certain amount of time. Mannoroth's paying attention to this. He calls you back, and then they're free of the blood curse until the next time he puts the well down.
Cool. Very cool. I love that idea. And you could talent into it to do so many cool things. When they come back, if they come back when called, they get buffed at that point, or something to give them even more reason to hang around the team.
Yeah, and then of course you have that safety net that you know until you hear or see Mannoroth calling you back, you're free to go ham. It's kind of like Rhaegar's bloodlust. But if Rhaegar could tell you, all right, guys, it's ending soon, get back before you're in an unsafe position.
Yeah, I love that, especially in the Silver Leagues. I would really love it. Okay, before we move on to the best part, what do you think sums this all up, Kristen, this warrior Mannoroth?
I want to say green grenade. Yeah, because he's got that explosion aura of terror. So I'll call him the green grenade.
Perfect. Green grenade. I dig it. Let's talk about some specialty skins and dance moves here. Dance moves and Mannoroth, how well they go together. You don't even know. I'll start with my specialty skin. I'm calling it the Godfather Mannoroth. You doom for me, and I doom for you. So he's wearing like this, Godfather suit. He's still Mannoroth. But he's wearing this Godfather, pinstripe suit with the red tie and the red feather, and he definitely have an altered voiceover.
Oh, could you imagine, too, if he had the hair?
Oh, yeah. He's got the hair.
I love it. And each time he goes to scratch, he does the scratch. He's gonna talk like this.
And then that voice singing Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
He might change it to something a bit more Italian, maybe. That's amore.
But yes, the Godfather Mannoroth, and you have made it into HeroesForge. If you made it this far, you're definitely enjoying the show now. What is your skin for Mannoroth?
Oh, this would be great. He would be accompanied with, I guess, some late 60s music, but I'm calling this Pimparoth. He's got a $sign around his neck. He's got a bejeweled cane that he walks with. And
Okay.
He's got a decorative pimp cup that he lays down. And that's the one that you all drink from, should he choose that special heroic.
So I'm picturing the color variations for this. So is there like a leopard print version of it, and maybe like a zebra print, or what is the...
That's perfect. The leopard print, the zebra print, maybe there's like a feather cap, a white feather cap that goes on. And this is all clearly fake animal print, right? Because it's leopard print, but it's got that hot pink.
Right, it's faux. Yes, no animals were harmed in the making of Mannoroth.
He cares about certain things. I've heard on good sources he is a member of PETA.
Yeah, it was Gul'dan that told us that, I think. What were you thinking his dance moves would be?
And the dance, I would totally want him to do the moonwalk because he's got the extra legs to do it too. And then he'd do a very slow spin at the end.
Have you seen the newest Horse Whisperer commercial that came out from the Super Bowl?
No.
It's basically horses doing these great tricks, and this guy is really funny, and he's like calling out like he's a horse whisperer for these horses to do these tricks. That's what I think of when I think of Mannoroth walking backwards in a moonwalk, is that Horse Whisperer commercial, and you should look it up on YouTube after the show, and you'll think it's funny, I think. Maybe. My dance move is just the greased lightning dance. So he's just gonna do the greased lightning dance, and everyone asks why, and no one knows the answer.
It's his favorite musical. How could that not be the answer? I love the idea that Mannoroth is totally into musicals. He has gone to Broadway we don't know how many times. Or if he can't fit in the theater, maybe he buys the tapes. And his personal favorite, he's got the special collector's edition of Sweeney Todd with Angela Lansbury.
Yes, and he just happens to also be a big John Travolta fan.
Huge. And when Hairspray came out, he did try on a dress and wig.
Yes, he did. Well, poor Mannoroth has been all over the place in these two builds, and I can definitely say that Mannoroth was forged. In all seriousness, I do think that Mannoroth is another one of these tunes in the game that I think it's definitely doable for Blizzard to bring into Heroes of the Storm.
Absolutely agree 100%. We have Ragnaros already. We have Cho'Gall. So clearly they're showing they're bringing in bosses from the Warcraft universe. And a Pit Lord is just such a part of their creative history that it would be... I'd give it 2 years max before we get a Pit Lord. Or in 2 years. By 2 years, we should have a Pit Lord.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it might even be before then. I mean, it's really, really cool look and feel of a character that's not in the game yet. So I think that's more of a reason, you know, they're developing heroes a year out. We're getting Lucio tomorrow or Tuesday. And I mean, these characters are just keep rolling and rolling and rolling. By no time, we'll be in Pit Lord territory.
Yep. And we know they like Warcraft, right? How many Warcraft characters have we seen? It's also arguably their largest IP, so it only makes sense that the percentage of Warcraft characters we see would be larger than basically all of the others.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, as long as these characters are awesome, unique, different in the game, us big fans of the game we just want characters that are fun to play, that we know and love from other games. Bring them on in. We know Blizzard will take care of the rest. They'll spread the wealth through all these other games because they want to get everybody in here. You know, it's a massive marketing thing too. You know, they want people that play Diablo, play Overwatch. People that play Overwatch that I know that don't play Heroes are saying, I want to come over and try Lucio in Heroes of the Storm. I mean, that's a great marketing tool for them as well.
That interconnectivity, that joining of communities, it's great because they're not working to separate the audiences. It seems like they're working very, very hard to keep us all somewhat connected, where if you don't play Overwatch, you've probably played against a Tracer or a Zarya in Heroes of the Storm. And with Hearthstone, Sylvanas Windrunner is a card in there, and you know, maybe you haven't played Hearthstone, but you know Sylvanas is in there, so perhaps you're tempted to try it.
Totally, yeah. They're building this community of things people like. And one of the best things I heard at BlizzCon this year was that they consider Heroes of the Storm to be BlizzCon the game, which is, I mean, it's just perfect way of thinking about it. So with that, a big thank you to all of our patrons that are out there. Again, thank you so much for supporting the show. And Kristen, where can people find you on the interwebs?
People can find me at Dream Destroyer. That is DRMDESTRYR over at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
Very cool. And you can find me right here on Heroes Forge. We record the show live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Amove TV, because we are a part of the amazing Amove TV, which is an entertainment and video game podcast network. You can check it out over on amove.tv. Tons of really great shows that you should be listening to over there in all of your free time. You can fill up all of your free time with all of their stuff, and you will enjoy every second of it. Guaranteed. You can follow this show on Twitter at Forge Heroes. That's also where you can vote on which kit you think won the day over there, and the voting goes live right after the show is posted on YouTube. And our YouTube channel is youtube.com/HeroesForge. You can check out our website, which is HeroesForge.club, for all 58 other characters that we have forged on the show. We've done Battlefields, we've done Warcraft, Diablo, Hearthstone, Overwatch. Tons of really cool characters over there. Check it out. It's HeroesForge.club. If you have an idea of a character you'd like to see on the show, or maybe you have a whole kit that you have just sitting in a notebook somewhere thinking, you know what if Mannoroth was in the game? Oh, this is what would happen. This is what would happen. Send it to us. We do a featured Forger event every month where we bring to you a kit that was developed by the community, you guys out there, and we chat about it on the show the entire episode. And the cool thing is that next week is our featured Forger episode for the month of February, so you get to check it out next Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific right here. You can download our podcast on any of your favorite podcasting apps, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. Check them out there. And also a huge thank you again to all of our patrons over at patreon.com/HeroesForge. You can also follow me. I'm starting to do some hero streaming in other games. You can find me on twitch.tv/MightyDiomedes. That's MightyDiomedes. And I think, Kristen, this Tuesday, if Lucio's released, which I'm pretty sure it's going to happen, I'm going to see, with a stim pack active, how fast I can get Lucio to level 10.
Do it. That's going to be so much fun. I love leveling heroes with stim packs. It makes for such a great show, right? Because people are like, "Ah, it's a new hero," and we got the excitement of leveling him. You do it.
Yeah, I'm going to see how fast we can do it, and maybe we'll get some people that are watching the stream in on some games and get some friend bonuses up there and try to get Lucio to level 10 ASAP. Follow me on Twitter for more info on when that stream's going to take place, at Mighty Diomedes. All right, Kristen. Mannoroth and the Nexus, doable?
Doable.
I totally agree. We're going to call the show there. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you all in the real world.